Hello, everyone! Welcome to the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show. We are back. I am Kay. I am one of your hosts, and I'm here with this incredible gentleman, David. Tell me who you are and what we do in here.
Hi, everybody. I'm David. This is the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show, where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how to be a better person, all with a focus on interconnectivity and intersectionality, so that everybody can have a good time.
And I'm Kay. I am your other host. I normally have a lot of stuff to plug right now, but it's kind of a slow start to the year, which is good because I've got a lot going on in terms of having to move. So you cannot find me every other Wednesday on the Emergency Power Podcast right now, but you should check out the Emergency Power Podcast and catch up if you haven't. There is an awesome Skittermander saga that they are airing every other Wednesday now, and the next one is when does that one go live? The 18th? We're not at the 18th yet. We're past the 18th. The next one is going to be on the 1st. I'm hopefully going to be streaming Thursdays. I am caught in a Stardew Valley death loop, and it's just a death spiral, and it's just the worst. How you doing, Rex? How you doing, Ribonanza? Welcome on in. But you can find us here most every Tuesday. I'm not going to be able to do the 7th because I'm going to go see Eddie Izzard, and none of y'all can stop me because she's
Amen.
awesome. So, David, we talked a little bit last time about the OGL, and there's been a lot of chaos, upheaval, clusterfuckery.
So, I need everybody to know three things.
Oh dear.
One, every time I say, "It's Tuesday, isn't it?" K docks my pay 10%. Two, so when you do, we use a number of different like softwares to do our streaming, but whenever we do Google Meets, you click on the thing and then it says like ask to be let in, and Kay always makes me beg because she's me. Three, I don't know why I'm weird today, but here we are. And four, not enough people have been hanging out on the Discord, and I'm mad about it. And by not enough people, I mean me. So instead of doing my normal, very thorough prep, I was maybe sort of kind of scrolling through memes on the Chaotic Wholesome server and sending them to my friends who are not on the server, and then also sending them invites. So if you are not on the Discord, it is time to get on the Discord. And I'm sure we have a topic that we're supposed to talk about today, and one day I will remember it. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, but that is not right now.
Hello, Pink
As you're saying,
City.
Kay.
Hello, Jedi Jester. Welcome in, everyone. Yes, we've had some good spicy memes on the Discord. We've got a whole little thread where we can talk about the 1D&D OGL thing. The biggest disclaimer, of course, is that no one on my server is a lawyer, and if they are a lawyer, they're not your lawyer, so don't take legal advice from them. But it's actually I have to say it's been very nice because I've gotten to talk to amazing people, including Rex, where we like have conversations and admit we're not experts and like change our opinions and adjust what we thought about things. And I love that because I got to do that a lot early in my career. The internet's not a great place to do that. But finding a little corner of it where I can do that with awesome people makes me very happy. So David, what we're talking about today is it's tangentially related to the OGL stuff. We're not going back into the OGL. We're not going back into OGL. There's some really great videos out there from lawyers. There's links to all sorts of great videos and articles by lawyers, some of which are easier to digest than others. They're on the Discord. Go in the Discord if you want to do that. But a whole lot of people are looking to take the jump out of D&D, some of them for the first times in their TTRPG careers. And we've spent a lot of time on the show talking about you should play a lot of different systems, if only to find out if you don't really like a system. There's a couple systems that I can play, and I do play, that aren't my favorite. Hey, Candace, welcome on in. But today, we're going to talk about Pathfinder, specifically Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I'm going to be David. So we're full disclaimer here for any Pathfinder experts out here. Feel free to start knowledge dumping. Or if we ask a question, feel free to answer it in chat. Because, David, you haven't played Pathfinder 2e. You've played Pathfinder, but not 2e.
I've played Pathfinder, but not 2e.
I've played original Pathfinder, like half a campaign or the start of a campaign. That's actually the D20 system that I first learned. I play in a regular Starfinder game, Emergency Power Podcast. I've gotten to play a couple one-shots of Pathfinder 2e, and it's a very cool system. If only for the 3-action economy, which we'll dive into soon. But big disclaimer, if you have played a D20 system, it is very easy to play another D20 system. If you got that down, you roll a dice, you add a modifier.
And full disclosure, while I have played Pathfinder, I'd argue that I've spent more time creating characters in Pathfinder than actually playing.
I feel like you've spent more time complaining about Pathfinder than you've spent playing Pathfinder.
Absolutely. But back to your previous point, like we encourage playing other systems not only to find what you like, what you don't like, but finding better fits for what you're trying to do. Because, like, you know, if you trot out 5e and go, okay, we're running 5e, except I don't like this mechanic, so I'm homebrewing this other mechanic, and I don't like this other mechanic, so I'm... At some point, the ship of Theseus becomes a new ship. And maybe the new ship is a system you just haven't tried yet. And so it's putting more tools in your tool belt.
Yep.
And I've got the Pathfinder PDF open on my computer, like right here where I can see it. And Paizo, which I'm hopefully saying correctly, has the same approach to TTRPGs that we do. And it says, and I quote, "The first rule of Pathfinder is that this game is yours. Use it to tell the stories you want to tell, be the character you want to be, and share exciting adventures with friends. If any rule gets in the way of your fun, as long as your group agrees, you can alter or ignore it to fit your story. The true goal of Pathfinder is for everyone to enjoy themselves." So potions are not an action, they are a bonus action. That rule is gone. The Mercer rule is here.
Yes. Hey, Jason. So, not a note about Pathfinder, but I fundamentally disagree on the ship of Theseus. Says Ribbon.
Well, I mean, because, like, you know, you pull out one board, and you put it on another board. Then you pull out another board. At some point, like, is it the same boat? Yes.
I think it's every 7 years we completely get rid of all of our skins, so we're technically a completely new person every 7 years.
I mean, that's only if you lack ambition. Like, you could get more skin. If that's a whole different thing. That is for the next Godplane game.
Brace, Candace.
Right. But the point is that, you know, you can find things that fit, like the Thirsty Lord, the Thirsty Sword lesbian games that were
Thirsty
run for
Lore.
Rainbow, right? That were run for Rainbow Roll last year would not have worked in a 5e environment. Mm-hmm. They just would not. It's like the same. It's the same thing with any other type of storytelling. Like, there's some stories that are better told as comic books or as movies or as TV series. Like, how many times have you watched a movie and you're like, this should have been like a whole... I mean, listen, Candace, if you want some thirsty lore, just slide into the DMs. So, Jester Jedi says, I'm relatively new...
David's over here, like, being serious. My brain is over here going, half the people in this chat are like, don't quote the thirst lore to me. I wrote it. I wasn't there when it was written. I wrote it. We're shipping
Everybody's
Theseus
just
now.
having
Yes. Absolutely. Grit
flashbacks
League, romance, fanfic. Yes. Into it. Yes. Sorry, David. Please read the quote from our wonderful chat, Jedi Jester.
Yeah, Jedi Jester says, I'm relatively new to playing tabletop RPGs. Stupid pandemic. So far, I've played D&D, Star Trek Adventures, and Star Wars RPG with the narrative dice. I still want to play at least a one-shot of Mouse Guard. I have no idea what Mouse Guard is, but now I want to play it.
How did you... Keep talking.
Wherein Kay disappears to grab one of the numerous TTRPG things that she has. But now, chat, you are stuck with me. And you and I are going to talk about Pathfinder. So, while I was distracted with memes, I have been... Oh, you've got Mouse Guard.
Mouse Guard is incredible. It is so cute and clever. Wait, that's not it. That's Labyrinth. Mouse Guard. And they made a TTRPG, and like the books are like $500 because they only did a one run, and it's a beautiful magical system, and you're little woodland creatures, and you fight with fucking symbols and like sewing needles and shit, and it is perfection.
Okay, so we're gonna have to put together a.
Oh yeah. Like Mouse Guard was Humblewood before Humblewood. We almost got a Mouse Guard movie. They canceled it. They had like full 3D renders of all the characters. Sorry, Jedi Jester. Yeah, Mouse Guard is... Mouse Guard. I have so many signed Mouse Guard comics and... Yes, Mouse Guard is... Mouse Guard is not like... much like Mouse Ritter.
I'm not German enough to know what that is.
Did you grow up obsessing over Greek mythology, or were you straight?
Right.
Look, y'all, it didn't... We can't promote it now. And you shouldn't watch it now because it didn't age well. And it wasn't even good at the time. Let me be completely clear. It was not good at the time. That didn't stop Baby K from being completely obsessed with Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, with Kevin Sorbo. But I didn't give a shit about Kevin Sorbo. I cared about Aeolus. Also Ares.
Listen. If you were not shaped by Xena Warrior Princess...
I wasn't. I was Hercules.
Well, you're Ace, so maybe this doesn't apply to you. If, as a man, a woman, a non-binary, whoever you are, if you are in the Alphabet Mafia and not Ace, and you were not shaped by Xena Warrior Princess, you are a liar. And like, I have so many things to say about Xena Warrior Princess that we could have not an episode, but an entire series just breaking down the... In fact, I would love to do like an episode by episode podcast of Xena Warrior Princess.
Adventures of Lois and Clark was also a good, formidable shaping one.
Man.
Yeah.
Terry Hatcher. Dean came back before he was a shitbag. Yeah.
But we were actually going to talk about TTRPGs today and not just pop or obscure, I guess semi-obscure culture. But, David, you mentioned this at the very beginning. Your little sarcasm about I have spent more time building characters in Pathfinder than I have playing Pathfinder. Well, I've got great news for you and for everyone in chat. Because number one, 2nd edition has made character creation much easier. And number two, there is a D&D Beyond for Pathfinder 2 character creation. And it is both desktop and an app. And it is free. And it is freaking gorgeous. And by gorgeous, I mean easy to use, smooth. I have dropped the link in chat. If you're watching the video, the link will be in the description. So, David, as you know, creating a character in Pathfinder in first edition was just, here's a book and a ton of options and good luck.
Yep.
There were too many options and there was basically no guidance. Pathfinder 2e has a nice little, okay, you decide I want to play, you choose your class. Rogue, wizard, fighter. Whatever you're going to play, you pick your class. Everyone, I think, I'm if anyone knows this better, I'm 99% sure everyone gets 1 feat at level 1. Demiplane is also testing their Pathfinder builder as well. Yes, it's a closed beta. Demiplane is like the Pathfinder 2e space. But everyone gets a feat at level 1. Here's the problem, and for those of you who are familiar with 5e also know this, there's a metric ton of feats. And I'm going to say it again because I don't need it to come up organically and derail us again, because we talked about it last time, but clearly both Wizards of the Coast and Paizo have a feat fetish. There, we've said it, we can move on. Instead of having a billion feats to choose from, it's like you are here's species and here's class. Here are certain feats you can choose from for your class. And you get a limited number. Yes, the captions FEET''S, you know. So it's like if I build a rogue, not that I like building rogues. I never play rogues.
Not even once.
Not even once. Not even once. Never touch the stuff. If I build a rogue and I'm like, okay, here's my thing. It's going to pop up and ask, what kind of rogue are you? Are you like an assassin rogue? Are you a rogue who's really, really good at detecting traps? Are you a super sneaky, pickpockety rogue? Like, what is your specialty? That's what your feat is going to be. You're going to have a rogue-related feat at level 1, and you've only got a small number, and that's going to kind of help determine what kind of rogue you play. When you get to level 2, I think in Pathfinder, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, everyone, because I've played around, but I don't know this as well. Hey, Ezekiel, welcome! I demand Dungeon Rubas get equal pay. Long have we been shunned, discarded, because we don't have a spine. Doesn't matter that we can be walked over. Every even level, you get a new feat. And as you progress up in levels and down the specialties of your class, more options, more feats open up to you. So at first level, you can pick between like 4, I believe the exact numbers are, depending upon your class, between 4 and 8 feats that you get to pick from at level 1. Some classes have more than others. Those might expand over time. I'm not sure. When you get to level 2, you get additional feats. So you can, you get another pool of, I don't know, we're going to say 5 to 10. I'm making that number up. Please correct me if you know it. But you can additionally say, you know what? I don't actually like any of these level 2 ones. I'm going to go back and take a different one from level 1. So you can always, new feats open up, and then you can go back and grab something that you really want to add to your skill set.
It increases the pool rather than going, okay, this is what you get, the end.
And that's one of the challenges of Starfinder First Edition, or Pathfinder First Edition and Starfinder, is like, there are some feats where it's like, holy shit, I just hit level 10. I can get this feat. That is everything I want. I have to have chosen a particular level 5 feat to be able to use this feat at level 10, and I didn't choose that at level 5. So now my build is borked. This will at least let you know, hey, if you want this, like that progression is made clear. So that's cool. Driving to this convo, I thought we were talking about actual feet. Yes, Ezekiel, we were discussing how, and I made the joke already, and we'll do it again. But we were discussing how both Wizards of the Coast and Paizo have a feet fetish because there's too many feats in both games. You're welcome.
It hurts me every time.
Every time.
Now I get into like Kay and I spend a lot of time either from the ground up building new monsters or tweaking monsters for our modules, for our settings. The Dungeon Roomba, like, I feel like the Dungeon Roomba is like
it's a Roomba with a knife strapped to it.
Right. But like the opposite, not opposite, but like diametrically opposed to mimics. And so you have mimics that are trying to like, eat people. And then you have like the Roombas like chasing them around, I guess, cleaning up the mess. But also they got like a knife on top. But then there's like, and like, everybody who's played a game has had like the level, the challenge rating 1/4 zombie, the challenge rating 4 like mummy, the challenge rating 8 like demi lich, and so you'd have like the regular Roomba, the dungeon Roomba with a dagger on top, and then you'd have the dungeon Roomba with the dagger on top and a cat on top. And that would be like the chieftain dungeon Roomba that was like coordinating the attack for all the. Anyway, the point is, if this shows up in a game, no, David did not steal this idea from anyone. This is a complete, total original thing. Anyway, back to Pathfinder before I really sit here and make.
I was just gonna say
stat block for the dungeon Roomba.
I feel like the Dungeon Roomba is like the modern setting version of the gelatinous cube, but with a knife.
And then if you put them in Spelljammer, then they have like little tasers or like laser guns or like lightsabers, like a dungeon Roomba with a lightsaber dagger, and then like some sort of like futuristic cat sitting on top, like a
cat with a helmet,
or like do androids dream of electric sheep? Like the idea of like they make these really elaborate fake animals that don't die, that are like androids, but it's a cat. And it has a dependence because it's been through like 3 owners because they never die, and now has his own army of Roombas that he has hacked. And then you'd also have to put like some sort of giant space rat in the ships. And so there's this. We're off track. We're talking about Pathfinder.
Ezekiel says if someone makes a custom scenario with Dungeon Roombas, I might actually have to dust off my 15 years away from pen and paper games and pretend I know what I'm doing. David's like, make Dungeon Roomba module.
It's already happened. It has already. I've already made a note. Kay and I are working on a big project, and every time, we have like the G chat at 3:00 in the morning, like this would be a great idea. Then I just copy and paste it into the Dungeon Roomba is going into the document. Like it's
not happen. Even a 3 a.m. one.
Right. That means it's a good idea.
Hey, some of my 3 a.m. ideas are almost decent. Half of God Plane came from 3 a.m.
All of your 3 a.m. ideas are great. Many of my 3 a.m. ideas are not safe for work. Is really what it boils down to. It's not that they're bad ideas. It's just roll up newspaper, bonk David on the nose. No.
Oh, first level characters
Actually,
dealing with
yeah.
malfunctioning cleaning bots. And like one of them should be, you know, the little android, the little droid in Star Wars that's like coming around the corner and like Vader glares at him and it's like
Mhm.
the little black square one.
Yep.
Yep.
So, speaking of the droids in Star Wars,
Oh God, so we
and I know
are
I,
completely derailed.
we're
That's
way
okay.
off, but someone needs to make an edit of the original Star Wars films. No, like the first six. And instead of R2D2 beeping, they put in Samuel Jackson because you know R2D2 is swearing up a storm, is talking mad shit because C3PO is a protocol droid, is like an etiquette droid. And 90% of 3PO's dialogue is R2, I cannot believe you said that out with your out loud voice. This is inappropriate. Please stop doing this. Those are bad words. If you weren't a machine, I would give you the squirt bottle. And yeah, 3PO's corny as fuck. And listen, as much as I hate 3PO, he's doing his best. Okay? He's doing his best. He's out of his depth. R2D2 is melting his brain with the things that he is saying, and he's just trying to stay alive. Anyway, Pathfinder. We're talking about Pathfinder. We're talking about feet fetishes.
Unfortunately.
Hopefully that is not a terms of service violation. Um, Pathfinder, character construction. Like, I will say that about 30% of the things that I have learned about Pathfinder over the past couple of weeks, as I've begun my deep dive into Pathfinder, have been from the memes on the internet. And let me tell you, very informative.
Yeah. And one thing that's really cool about Pathfinder and Starfinder, though again, Starfinder's on first edition. I personally have suffered enough heartbreak in my life that I am not going to sit around and hope that they're going to put out a Starfinder 2e. I can't break my own heart by putting any hope into that. But one of the things that's really cool about Pathfinder and Starfinder is that you continue to get points every level up that you can use to boost your character stats. It doesn't boost your dexterity, strength, constitution, charisma, but you can apply certain points to charisma or to bluff. Well, they don't really have not charisma. You can apply it to, they have persuasion, sense motive, bluff, athletics, acrobatics, mysticism, all of those things. So your character doesn't stop at creation. Your character continues to grow every single level up. So you can, my character leveled up, and this time they, this past adventure, they really honestly, it was really hard, and they did a lot of physical work. So I'm going to narratively boost their strength. Or this character, learned a lot about sentience and the way people think and act and behave. So I'm going to boost their insight checks, their sense motive checks. So I think that's it is mechanically really cool because your character can either continue to become just freaking ridiculously phenomenal at one thing, or you can narratively help them grow through their stats every level up. And that's really cool.
I got completely distracted.
You did. I watched it happen.
By what Easy Bitch said. Legend has it that once the mighty Demi-Lich Shakakel had bought a dungeon Roomba. It was the best cleaner of all the realms. In fact, it was so good at its job that when it cleared the entire dungeon, it consumed Chakarel in an enraged cleaning frenzy, absorbing the Demi-Lich's powers. What became of the dungeon Roomba? No one knows. But the dungeon of Chacarel still remains sparkly clean and empty, or so it seems. Though the thing is, we're gonna have to find some way to the get the adventurers to want to go in there, because if the Roomba ate all the treasure, but maybe there's something in there that's like sparkly clean, like maybe like some sort of well polished knob that the party might be interested. I'm sorry, that was the worst joke that I have ever come up with.
Honestly, I was waiting for you to start quoting the Samurai Jack opening at the end of that.
Right. But ooh.
HR.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna have a meeting with HR immediately. But so we've spent a lot of time talking about like different things that like the character building and like the big advantages of it. And like I've said to Kay, I really want to do a like week by week we go into classes, we go into ancestries and backgrounds. But one of the big departures from 5e that Pathfinder has, and one of the big improvements I'd say is action economy.
Ooh, I was playing. I am in a long-standing Ravnica home game, and several people in that are like, I love Magic, I love D&D, I am open to Pathfinder, but nothing has made me feel like I need to switch to Pathfinder. And I'm like, well, let me tell you about the 3 action economy. And like one person was like, no one has ever sold me on Pathfinder more than what you just told me. I want to go read more about this right now because y'all, the 3 action economy is so good.
Yeah. Because let's see, it's movement, attack, and take cover. Actually, I have the thing open here. So
Well, okay, so in D&D 5e, you have move, action, bonus action, and reaction. In Pathfinder 1e Starfinder, you have move, action, swift action, reaction. In Pathfinder 2e, you have 3 actions. And that covers everything except for reactions. So at any point on your turn, you get to do 3 things, and that you can move 3 times. You can attack 3 times. You can cast a spell as a 1 action and then do a 2 action something. Or you can cast a spell as a 3 action and make that spell incredibly powerful, which I'll go into that a little bit. So it gives you so much more strategic control and adds so much strategy into your fights and your games.
So there are a couple of things that I'm not wild about with 5e when it comes, and you know, Kay will tell everybody I spend a lot of time doing fight design, like a lot of time doing that. And the whole like you use part of your movement speed and then you do a thing and then you have some of your movement speed left over maybe, um except if you move again then you incur an attack of opportunity and so you're stuck there, and yet unless you're a rogue and you cheat, or unless you're a monk and you cheat, really bothersome. But in Pathfinder, it so much of it makes more sense because like there are gifs and videos on the internet of like, well, how can someone attack 8 times in 6 seconds? And it's like 6 seconds is a lot longer than you think. Ask any man out there. 6 seconds is a long time. And so it has some guy with a sword swinging it around and be like, I can attack 8 times in 6 seconds. That's not a problem. Um, but can you attack eight times and then move 40 feet and then attack 8 times again? So yeah, like in 5e, if you're a fighter and you have an extra attack, your extra attack is not an extra action. So you could either do something or use your attack and then use your second attack. But it's never they can never be broken up. It's never I move, do an attack, or no, I do an attack, I move, and then do another attack. It's like you gotta. Anyway, point is, Pathfinder's action economy really gives a lot of flexibility to what you can do in combat, and there's been a lot of conversation about the sort of imbalance between martial and spell casting, because like at level 20 a fighter hits things good, but at level 20 a wizard rewrites the laws of physics, um, which is fair, but also that extra flexibility means that you can be much more dynamic on the battlefield, especially when you have the paladin class. They call it something better in
Champion.
Pathfinder. When you have the champion class, when you are where it's like, oh man, a party composition is a healer, a tank, and a damage dealer, and it's like, here I am, I'm everything. I'm everything you could ever want. And so
So
it gives a champion more flexibility to do those things.
I will put in a couple caveats, and some of this caveat is I don't think this changed for 2e, but I could be wrong. If anyone watching, again, if I speak incorrectly, please tell me. So one thing Pathfinder does that is far more restrictive than 5e is you can't break up your movement. You move and you attack, or you can't do I move part of my movement, I do a thing, and then I move the rest of my movement. Your movement has to be done. It does give you a lot more flexibility, in that they have a thing like a charge. So you can, as a full action, which is action, bonus action, movement, sprint and go 3 times your movement speed. Now, you take some penalties, like you're flat-footed after, so like you just did an all-out charge, so it's a little bit easier for creatures to hit you until the end of your next round, or till the beginning of your next turn. There are feats that you can take that make it so you can break up that movement, but it is a little bit more restrictive there. But let me tell you what Pathfinder does that is really cool for combat, but is gonna take some adjustments for 5e players. Most characters in Pathfinder do not get an attack of opportunity.
So you just flying around the battlefield, doing stuff.
It's cool because your battles become a whole lot more mobile, because it's they also have one thing Pathfinder has is a guarded step. So instead of doing your full movement speed, you can take a guarded step and step 5 feet away without triggering an attack of opportunity. So that is how Pathfinder handled that, which is I'm up against this thing. Original 1E Pathfinder and Starfinder had. I'm up nose to nose with this thing. I am squishy. I don't want to be here. I will attack, and then at the end of my turn, I will take a guarded 5-step back and hold there, and then most creatures, you're out of reaction range. So then you can run away and get away.
It's like a woman at the club on the dance floor. Like you take step away, and then you assess before you attack, before you end this man's whole life. But I have not been in many combat encounters that feature weapons. I'd argue exceedingly few of them. But I have had some combat encounters. Like, sometimes you are outside on Black Friday. Sometimes you're at the midnight release of Call of Duty. The things get a little scrappy. Attacks of opportunity are not feasible. If you are toe to toe fighting for your life with one sweaty gamer or multiple sweaty gamers, and a member of the Fae comes skipping by playing a flute, you're not going to be able to stop what you're doing and do a full loaded measured attack on whoever's like cruising by. Now, if I were a master of the arts, say like a monk or a high level fighter, then maybe there's some cool like bullshit I could do where I could spin and slap this person going by on the ass. But otherwise, it's not happening. And if I'm face down in a book, or I'm being a sugar baby calling in a favor, or if I'm trying to do calculus in a book, then I'm definitely not hitting whoever's like running by. It's not happening. So I really think attacks of opportunity is purely a game mechanic and not something that is like rooted in that which is practical. And so I'm glad that for the most part, Pathfinder is like, nah, just run around. It's good.
Oh, is that not hooked up? Why is that not hooked up? Sorry, we should be getting a fanfare in here, and I don't hear it. I will have to figure out why my sound alerts are not working. I'm sorry, y'all. That is frustrating. But, yes, that is one of the cooler things. And again, I was playing in Ravnica. I was a little squishy plant person in chainmail, and a freaking T-Rex came up and bit my plant person and lifted them off the ground. And I'm like, I'm here until we kill this thing or I die. Because even if I can get out of these jaws, I can't run away. Because if I run away, it will bite me again. And as a plant person, I do not have strength. So I cannot fight these grappling jaws. So I just put my hand inside his mouth and just kept casting Vampiric Touch until dead. Because that harms the T-Rex and heals me an equal amount. Grave Domain Clerics are terrifying.
Yikes!
Don't let me play a that's a cantrip.
It's like, are you sure you want hugs?
No, that's not the cantrip. Toll the Dead, if a creature at 5th level, if a creature has been damaged, has taken damage, and you cast Toll the Dead, it is a cantrip. They have to make a wisdom save. If they don't pass it, it is 4d8 of damage.
Did you say 4d8?
It's 2d8 if they have not taken damage. If they have been damaged, cantrip. Grave Domain Clerics.
That's
yes, Hex plus Toll the Dead.
Are you sure you want hugs? Because if you want hugs, we can hugs.
Yes.
Like cuddles here.
Please do not touch my plant cleric. They will harm you. Make your decisions carefully. Why is David dying?
David is dying because David's friends send him memes while they know he's on camera.
Yeah. Thanks,
And
Kato. So one nice thing about I can verb. It's been a very long day, y'all. One nice thing about Pathfinder 2e, and again, if we're kind of talking about starting up the system, it's called ancestry. You don't pick your race, you pick your
right,
ancestry.
right.
And it's great. And they have, they have it broken down by like common. Here are the common ancestries in the world of Pathfinder are dwarf, elf, gnome, goblin, halfling, and human. Now, under humanoids, there are additional things like half orcs and all that stuff we expect. They then have uncommon, which is a couple that I just straight up don't know, am not yet familiar with because have not played that part of it. But like they have catfolk, tabaxi, gnolls, hobgoblins, kitsune, kobolds, leshy, which leshy are actually the plant people that I homebrewed into 5e. Lizard folks, orcs, rat folks, Tengu, Vanara. And then they have some more rare ancestries, including dragon.
I know too many people who are going to show up to my table wearing cat ears. And I know too many people who are going to show up to my table with branches stuffed down the back of their shirt because they're leshy. Also, for those of you who've played the Witcher games and who've played Witcher spin-offs, the Leshen fights are always fantastic. Always top notch. All three games, there's a Leshen fight, and it's
They got little pink insides. They got little pink insides.
how am I supposed to continue speaking? I am not here to shame anyone. Candace says, I take offense. I will not be shamed for my cat ears. Thank you. I am not here to shame anyone unless that's your thing, and then I can do it. But until then, until I get signed, notarized, laminated paperwork.
David, I have to read this to David on air. And it's even better that I'm wearing cat ears while I do it.
Oh boy.
I'm just peeking through the rare ancestries. And David, I am not making this up. One of the rare ancestries in Pathfinder 2e is the flesh wrap.
No. No.
One of the class features is unusual anatomy.
No.
Your unorthodox body resists physical afflictions meant for other creatures. Yeah, FLESHWRAP. Flesh wrap.
I'm officially writing everything from now until the end of time in Pathfinder 2e, and there will be, not maybe, there will be a flesh wrap in every single one of them because I identify as a flesh wrap. But who? The internet did this. The internet did this because the dudes in the basement in 1977 where the wife was like, "You're cheating on me," and he's like, "No, I'm in this basement with dudes," and she's like, "That's what I'm saying, you're cheating on me." And it's like, "No, we're not doing it. We're playing a game." And she's like, "I understand what donut ring toss is. You're cheating on me." And he's like, "No, we're playing a game with dice." And she's like, "I've seen those dice from the adult novelty store. You roll them, and one says with clothes on, and the other one says eat." Or like you cheat. And he's like, "No, it's Dungeons and Dragons." The internet did this because without the internet, whoever at Paizo wrote this wouldn't be like, not only do we need flesh wraps, but it needs to be a playable class, because some of us are going to be out here in the streets going, "Listen, I'm at this table and I'm a flesh wrap and you have to deal with it. This isn't a homebrewed class. This isn't invented. This isn't an AOC or AO3 like deep cut. Look at this picture off of DeviantArt. This is my character now."
Look, there have been many days in the 24 days of this year so far where I have felt like nothing but a flesh wrap. I have been flesh wrapped around a skeleton, and that's all I've got for that day. Okay, I'm afraid. I'm going to Google this.
Like, I can't be drunk in West Hollywood being like, hey, you ever met a flesh wrap? Do you want to? It's great, I tell you. Just speaking of damage, speaking of psychic damage, speaking of critical hits.
Oh dear.
Pathfinder has a interesting take on critical hits.
Mm-hmm.
And make no mistake, between the cat ears and the flesh wraps and Candace and their not flesh ears, well, flesh ears and cat ears, I'm struggling, yo.
So happy. So happy.
With all of this, I'm also torn about Pathfinder's approach to critical hits. Because
Tabaxi with human ears, yes. We're not even gonna say that out loud. Nope. That is a I'm sorry, YouTube viewers, that was a you had to be here moment.
Anyway, I'm gonna stop saying awful things in chat. Y'all, chat, I have been discombobulated hits. And derailed and psychically damaged in a way during this episode that has not happened in a very long time. And anyway, critical hits. So instead of, the D20, critical failure is a 1, critical success is a 20, and then you got to have the argument with players where it's like, it's a skill check. You can't critically pass a skill check. It's only for attacks. Instead, it's for everything. But it is a matter of tens. If you are 10 above the skill check, if you are 10 below the skill check, you have your critical failures and your critical successes. And the thing that I like about crits is, for one, spells can crit.
Mm-hmm.
And so my buddy who I ran into over the weekend had a shirt that says, "I didn't ask how big the room was. I said I cast Fireball." Um, and so now Fireball can crit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the Row Baby from Trogdor, the movie trailer.
I just got to get my sound bites working first, like before I could figure out.
Yeah.
I thought I turned him back on. I turned him the heck back on.
Um. Uh. But yeah. So if the DC is 14, you roll a 24, boom, critical hit, the end. Now you don't get the juicy I roll the 20 on the die, but you do get the, oh, you tried to pick this lock and you rolled a 4 and the DC on the lock was an 18. Oh boy, you're about to have a bad time.
Mm-hmm.
Um and like I said, crits on, do they have magic missile? Because if they don't have magic missile, I now have to look up spells in this game. But um
And also, as we've said, we can always homebrew, and everyone likes. I rolled a 20, so something really good is going to happen, right? But there could be other crits that are fun, especially on like spell checks or skill checks. And I'm still a really big fan of, and I stole this from Gabe Hicks, where a natural one, yes, probably something not good is going to happen, but it's not that a nat one, especially if it's someone like a rogue who's got reliable talent so they can't roll below a 10 or some bullshit, says the rogue player. Natural ones invite chaos. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, but a natural one inviting chaos and just having something weird happen is really fun. And David is focused on something now. There we go.
I'm also looking for magic missile. But so like on the one hand, like yeah, miss the fat natural 20s, miss the heart stopping crit like ones, but also it expands the rate at which you get critical fails and
Mm-hmm.
critical successes, because it makes sense. Let's say you are a rogue and you're scaling a wall. um and the DC of the wall is 10 and you roll a 21 with all your bonuses and everything. Like your bonuses should matter more, because rolling a 16 on the die as a level 2 versus rolling 16 on the die as a level 20 is a huge difference, because you
Mm-hmm.
stack up all those bonuses, and it's a difference between someone who's not very experienced at rogue stuff and like yeah they managed to get over the wall, versus the person that does the front flip over the 15-foot wall, and
Right.
you're like, wait a second, that's, and then lands in stealth or lands on top of somebody and gets an attack of opportunity. Like it gives more emphasis between the skill divide between lower levels and higher
Mm-hmm.
levels. Um, and it also dramatically decreases the or it increases the stakes of bad rolls at a lower level, while also rewarding the character for staying alive long enough to hit level 12, level 15.
Yeah.
And that is sort of like a built-in back end reward for your progression, is the danger of critical failures goes down. Like in our home campaign, we have a rogue that has like a plus, what is it, like plus 17 or something to stealth.
Ridiculous.
It And so it doesn't matter if he rolls a 1. Like he rolls a 1, like if he rolls a 1 in 5e, then I got to do something to it. I have to invite chaos. He's probably going to die, as is tradition.
Yeah, very tradition.
But in 5e, or no, but in Pathfinder, he rolls a 1 and he's like, 1 on the die, 18, the DC is 14. Guess what? I'm gravy. And that's really how it should be, because like, take anybody who has spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours of doing something, the like slapstick stupid stuff that you could do wrong, the chance of that goes down to less than 1/10%, less than 1/100%. Like you take like Gordon Ramsay isn't just going to like leave the fire on and burn the shit out of whatever, like boil water until it's gone. Like he's not going to leave the pizza rolls in the oven and go to sleep. Like he's just not going to do that. But a 16-year-old who's making their first pizza roll, the chance of that much higher.
Hey Jeff, welcome into the chat. But yes, and that goes back a little bit, David, to what I was discussing when you got lost in Dungeon Roombas. Dungeon Roombas happened. Watch the VOD. We're not going back to Dungeon Roombas. Dungeon Roombas distracted us from, at level ups in Pathfinder, David, and in Starfinder, you get to add points you get like 5 points per level up to inflate your skills. So if you're like, I want to be the person who can jump the wall and do flips and be really impressive, you can just pump points into your acrobatics. So that when you hit that thing where your bonus is now ridiculous, you can do it. Yeah. That's part of your character. And it's not something you have to sacrifice on. You get those points. Again, you can't put it directly into your dexterity, but you can put it into any of those, secondary skills. And so, Jeff, I don't want to announce this to the world if you don't want to, but if you would like to tell us about, if you would like to share, tell me I could share. I would love to share what you did with Scriff and their charisma in Emergency Power, but I'm not going to do that if you don't want that revealed. So that is a really cool way that you could be like, you know what, narratively, and I feel like we have all done this if we've played in a campaign of any decent length, where you're like going along and you're like, you know what? No, this has become this character's thing. This has to be a thing now. Sometimes that just happens naturally. When I play Roxy, my paladin with flying spaghetti monster, she's got a really high charisma, but she fails every charisma check whenever she is trying to flirt. And it's the dice telling a story. However, there are some cases where it's like, you know what? No, I want this character. So charisma impacts both your ability to be persuasive, but also your ability to lie. Roxy is not a character who lies, right? In Pathfinder, I would be able to go through and dramatically boost her ability to persuade someone without boosting that ability to lie, which I very much like. Thank you for hanging out, Jedi Jester. You missed out on something. Yes, Dungeon Roombas were a thing. So yeah, and again, that's kind of what's cool about, one thing I really enjoy about the Pathfinder system, Pathfinder and Starfinder, is you can be like, no, I want to be really ridiculously good at this one thing. I am the healer of the party, so my medicine is through the frickin' roof. Or I am I dabble in magic, so I know everything there is to know about mysticism. Doomba. Jeff had a Doomba in their Traveler game. They do have magic missile, so you can crit on magic missile. Wait,
Yes.
magic missile you don't roll; it just happens, so you still can't crit on magic missile.
You st- the point is, it's important for them to have magic missile.
Okay.
Like so much of my identity as a encounter designer hinges upon magic missile. And like that's a whole different discussion that we're not going to get into. Just accept the fact that it's important.
Okay, I that's cool. I accept this. I know that like someone says I cast when I'm GMing and someone says I cast magic missile and I'm like, there's nothing I can do about that. Yeah, the Doomba has spread far and wide. Candace had a Doomba in their Dust Bunnies one shot. But did your Doombas
continue?
Did your Doombas have a cat riding them? Because I think that might be David's like very big contribution to the Doomba.
There are going to be a couple that have lobsters strapped to the top.
What if I told you I have a Doomba in my workplace? Candace
yes,
has.
Her name is Pathfinder.
Perfect. So yes, I forgot where we were. Oh, yeah, we had wandered away from the rare ancestries and we don't need to go back to that either.
But yeah, I was talking about like the shift in crits from 1 in 20, where 1 is oh bother and 20 is hooray, to, well, is it 10 plus or is it 10 minus? And like I said, I'm very torn about that because like everybody loves that fat natty 20.
I mean, I think there is definitely a world, and Candace and I have had some talks, because Candace has more of an appreciation for the Powered by the Apocalypse games than I do. I have nothing against them. They're just a little too loosey-goosey for me. I want a little bit more crunch in my game. I want to feel like I have a little bit more control. I have control issues, y'all. I can't help it. I need to know the rules of the game so that I can try and break them. As David says, I thought for a long time I didn't think I was chaotic. I thought I was lawful. And he said, no. You use the box to break itself, and that is chaotic.
Absolutely.
I need to know the box so I can break the box. Okay. But Powered by the Apocalypse does things where, and this is one of the things I have a hard time with it because things are too loosey-goosey and not concrete enough in that if you roll below a certain threshold, it doesn't work. It's bad, right? It's a fail. And it's a 2d6 system, so it's a little bit different. And if you roll above a certain threshold, it's a crit, and it does exactly what you want. If you pass, you get to do it, but there's a consequence. And that makes it really difficult for me to plan. That's my problem with. I do think that is a nice addition to a D20 system. In that, if it's 10 above, 10 below, crit fail, crit pass, right? But if you roll that natty 20, something really good still happens. If you roll that nat 1, chaos is summoned. Regardless of if it is a crit or not, chaos is summoned by the 1s and the 20s. The Anubis turns his big ol' snoot too fast and boops the scales, and something weird happens. Just for a moment.
I'm not going to launch into an entire rant about Stargate. But know that the multi-season podcast I could make out of Stargate, like 100 episodes of this podcast, easy. Yes, Stream Elements, I have stretched recently. Have I taken my happy pills? Yes, I have.
Good job. I'm proud of you. Yeah, I've had Candace has said this. I've had a couple people who like a couple people who run Power by the Apocalypse games who are like, you have to get a good GM, you have to sit at the table long enough, you will develop the rhythm and the trust. And I'm like, that feels like, yeah, the first 3 seasons are really rough, but starting season 4 the show gets good. And like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
I am sure if I got in the right table and the right swing of things, I would absolutely feel it. But that just seems like too much of a commitment for someone with control problems. I do like it for
Also,
one shots. For one shots, super fun.
the next person that recommends me a TV show and is just like, listen, you got to get through this first 40 hours, and then we're gonna go out onto my front lawn. No matter where you are in the world, you're gonna come here, and we're gonna go out onto my front lawn and fist fight so all my neighbors can see it. Um, let's see. But I get it. But the average pass thing with consequences take it out of epic hero vein. No.
For me, it's less about it being epic, but the knowledge that I am not going to be able to get what I want to happen unless it is a crit makes discourages me from taking risks. I want to act less because I don't have control. Like, I know that all probability says something that I don't want to happen or that I do not expect and cannot control will happen, and that makes it more difficult for me to play the kind of games and characters I like to play. Because I'll do some really stupid stuff in character, but it's all a calculated risk because I know. I mean, obviously, you can never quite know the worst that can happen, but I've got a pretty good idea of what's the pass fail, what's the likelihood of this. Yeah, but I mean, okay, Superman. I'm not a Superman fan. I have never enjoyed Superman. I watched The Adventures of Lois and Clark, and that was as Superman as I ever got. That was the highlight of Superman for me. I don't like the comics. I tried to get into it because Kill Bill made it sound really, really cool, and I was like, no, it's still boring. Modern Superman is really, 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 really bad and betrays the roots of what Superman is because Superman is written off the Jewish pillars of leave the world a better place than you found it. And modern Superman has lost that. And so, yes, while Superman may occasionally level a building, actual Superman would feel freaking terrible about it and would change his everything if he was just leveling buildings 50% of the time.
Yeah, and like Superman will rip a car in half to save a kitten. Like there is this like if this could be fixed with money and it saves a life, great. But he doesn't just also
Deep Space Nine is incredible, and I will fight you. Continue.
oh, Deep Space Nine is no, okay.
Oh, no, here we go. We're dead.
Deep Space Nine is good from the start. And I will tell you why. What people may not remember is that the first season of Deep Space Nine, and I think it's season 6 of Next Generation, ran at the same time. So when the Enterprise shows up to Deep Space Nine, it's happening in the continuity of Next Generation, which is why Worf doesn't show up until later. But that's a whole different thing. But like Miles O'Brien transfers off of our favorite potato farmer transfers from the engineering on the Enterprise to the rusted heap that is Terok Nor. But here's why it starts off really good. Because in episode 1, in the first like 10 minutes, Sisko has to look Jean-Luc Picard in the eye and not spit on this man. Because in Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2, Picard gets kidnapped by the Borg and then leads the fight and wages war against the Federation and just outright obliterates dozens of ships, which let's remember at the time, combat-ready ships in the Federation totaled to 76. So, like, between a third and like 45% of the fleet were completely decimated at the first battle of Wolf 359. And then Cisco, who lost friends, who lost people, has to look at what is in his heart a traitor. Because again, at the time, Jean-Luc still hears the Borg in his head. He's still in active communication with the Borg. Looks this man in the eye and is like, hey, can you give me some advice? And then you have Odo, and you have Garrick, and you have Julian Bashir, where it's like, there's no way this charming gentleman, this savant, can be this black and white. There's something going on here. Like, the first season of DS9 asks a bunch of questions and asks you to start thinking about them. In addition to that, it is an entire shift of the format from we fuck off every week to go ruin some civilization and then wash our hands of it and then move on, to, oh no, we have to sit here and not only like consider and deal with the political and cultural ramifications of the colonistic nature of the Federation, but we also get to see the opposite side of Roddenberry's utopia, in which, yes, there are still people that fall through the cracks. Yes, there are still things that are not perfect. Yes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Deep Space Nine is a masterpiece, and while I have not watched most of the new Star Treks, I have yet to see anything Star Trek even come close to the heights of theory crafting and storytelling and depth that Deep Space Nine did at the end.
And DS9 conquered political issues and social issues that no one was discussing those days. Like,
right.
It was so vocally progressive, and would have been more had certain showrunners not gotten in the way. Because 100% Garak and Bashir.
Oh yeah, they were good.
100%. That was written. And in fact, the actors. Do you know the story of the actors and the fan fiction?
No.
The actors apparently found this really awesome fan fiction, and I won't say it all, but it depicts the two of them as a couple eventually in the end. They commissioned the rights to read that fan fiction. So there is the actors for Garak and Bashir reading a really sweet, wholesome fanfic. And because, like, technically they are the characters, they're like, as far as we're concerned, it's canon. That's the end of their story.
If you don't send me this directly after this,
I can't believe you didn't know this.
I'm going to hop a flight to New York and we're going to fist fight. But, and I know I ranted about way too, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry.
I knew Deep Space Nine would set him off. When David was like, no, Deep Space Nine is the best Star Trek, I'm like, we're going to be friends. We're okay. Could be good.
Not my favorite, but the best. And so, one other little thing about DS9. In the entire movie industry, there have been many tragedies. And I'm not going to say that this tragedy is worse than others, because, like, there are some Marlon Brando incidents that are just horrific. But one of the great tragedies, one of the great crimes, one of the great slights against humanity.
Absolutely, Ezekiel.
Is that Ronald D. Moore gets cucked by Paramount repeatedly. No one has a deeper understanding and a more faithful commitment to, and also the depth of understanding necessary to evolve without betraying the vision of Gene Roddenberry more than Ronald D. Moore. And he makes the most cerebral Star Trek which is saying something because the Next Generation right there. But he makes the most cerebral, thought-provoking Star Trek. And then they're like, all right, you get to go make this other TV show. We're just going to make the last 3 seasons of this about war. Don't worry about it. Which I appreciate, but also they snatched this show from this man, stick him on Voyager, and he's like, yo, I'm going to write one of the best seasons in sci-fi history. And they're like, great, but the 2 quirky aliens, the show's about them now. And he's like, don't do this to me. Don't do this to my. And they're like, shh, it's happening. And then when that fails, they're like, get the sexy alien in here. Let's go. And he's like, fine, I'm going to make my own TV show about someone who's far away from home and who's running on fumes and doing their best to survive while they're hunted by Lord knows what. But this time I'm going to do it with blackjack and hookers. And Battlestar Galactica happens. And the first 2 seasons, listen, 33 and Water both won Emmys. A sci-fi TV show not called Star Trek was out here winning Emmys because Ronald D. Moore is a gangster. Ronald D. Moore, if you're watching this, thank you. And send me a signed selfie of you in the bathroom.
What the heck, sir?
Listen, I didn't say what he had to be doing in there. I just want a mirror selfie of Ronald D. Moore signed. Anyway, and he's like,
thanks
listen,
for hanging, Ezekiel.
This is great. This is amazing. This is Battlestar Galactica, one of the, before Game of Thrones, it was Battlestar Galactica. And then what happens? Sci-Fi Channel is like, yeah, you got some great ideas and all, but we're just going to take this from you. Every time Ronald D. Moore has the vision, someone snatches it from him and ruins it. The end.
So Pathfinder. We are winding down. We are coming to the end of our time together. At least, with Pathfinder, there is Starfinder and Star Trek, so there's a decent, we can ish.
Wait, Miles O'Brien, the worst character?
Well, okay, look, Miles O'Brien is great until he has to be a husband. And Miles O'Brien is the worst husband to everyone except Bashir.
Yes. But also, Miles O'Brien is important because he represents the everyman. He represents the non-commissioned officers in a way that we have not seen in the previous Star Trek. We're only dealing with officers. We're only dealing with the privileged class. We're dealing with, I'm done. I'm sorry.
He's still terrible to his wife.
Oh, yeah, he's awful. He's terrible.
Great to Bashir.
And honestly, they should have written a divorce in there. Keiko deserves better.
She definitely deserves better, especially the
potato farmer.
Especially after the episode with the daughter. That was not necessary.
What's the name of the dude? Morn, who's based off of the character from Cheers, that's always at the bar.
Oh,
they should
yeah.
Like in the last season, the divorce should have happened, yada yada, and then Morn meets someone, falls in love, and then the last episode, Miles is sitting in his chair. That's what should have happened.
Miles could have been should have been the weird token straight that Garak and Bashir hang out with. Just oh honey, I know he doesn't do laundry anymore, but can we just have him over for dinner? He's not eating. But yes, we derailed very hard. But I will say that Pathfinder has more and more a wider group of classes and ancestry, or a wider group of ancestries than 5e. So if you're I'm kind of If you're like me and you're like, I really want to be a weird plant person, that's there in Pathfinder. You don't have to homebrew it.
I'm still recovering
I
from
know
like
David is
rants.
cooling down from the rant. Ezekiel, who had to bounce, was like, David's next career is UFC fighter, and I'm like, oh yeah, David could. No question, no question. So look, Sauce isn't hanging out here. I almost got to play, and it was going to be a Spelljammer. We could probably do it in Starfinder. We were going to do a Spelljammer game that was Deep Space Nine inspired. And I was going to play a Bashir-ish character. And I knew how I was going to do it. It was going to be really cool. And I'm sad we didn't get to. But you know what? That's okay. Yes, we all want to be on David's corner team in UFC. David, do you have any Pathfinder thoughts? I see you spinning out towards. We got to reel it in so we can end this conversation. I can see it.
Pathfinder thoughts. I'm really glad that they have magic missile in the game. I'm going to lay in bed tonight, and when I am done ranting about all the things I rant about in my head before I go to sleep, I will think about shifting my opinion on their approach to critical successes and critical failures. Like I said, I really like the fact that it's expanded to everything and not just attacks. And I like that, it really leans into the better you get at something, the less likely it is to happen, instead of a straight 5% chance. But, miss Nat 20.
Nat 20 could still be a thing. And yes, I am well aware. I think David would lose his mind if I was on an actual Star Trek game, because I have an actual Star Trek uniform that I would be wearing. I would be wearing. Also, any excuse to play a Bashir-like character. Bashir is so much joy for me because Bashir... God, and we're back on this, but Bashir was such a wonderful examination of privilege. And like how... Yes, privilege is... There are also costs to privilege. And the secrets that often come around privilege and shame that is forced upon you by the people who give you privilege, even if you don't want that. It's a fascinating look at it on so many levels. I want to be in an actual Star Trek game. Yes. I have Star Trek D20s. Oh my goodness! Thank you, Zykram, for the subscription. 32 months. Holy cats. Thank you.
In my defense, I did message him saying, "It's Tuesday, isn't it?"
The funniest thing, y'all, none of us know where that came from. He just started doing that and can't seem to stop.
But yes, Zykram is the most dedicated and most long-lived devotee to this channel. Right. And do I have any other Tuesday rituals? Well, now I'm gonna.
Hey, Dane, welcome in. Everyone's pouring in. We were trying to talk about Pathfinder. Now we're talking about Star Trek, mostly Deep Space Nine. However, I'm just going to stop fighting this because I have tried a couple times and it's not working. So, Kardashians are an issue.
And one thing I will say about Bashir is white people of privilege, people who have a built-in advantage, one, Like
Yes, this is a Star
Bashir,
Trek show now.
you didn't necessarily ask for it.
Right.
2, you shouldn't be ashamed of having it. And 3, because it was essentially forced upon you, it would be incorrect not to leverage the cards you were dealt to maximize it. However, Bashir takes the approach of like, he's like, listen, I'm here, I have these abilities, I have this genius, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out onto the fringes of the Federation and do everything I can to improve the lives of as many people as possible. And while he's out there, he cures new diseases, he ends epidemics. He is a legendary triage doctor in the war. Like, he
And
gets
let's
on
not
combat
mistake,
ships.
incredibly problematic, especially early on. Learns a lot, gets better, grows. That's the important part.
Right. But he does not sit in his ivory tower
Right.
and sits on his dragon horde and go, look at how amazing I am. I did this all myself. He went, I have these things. How can I use them to make other people's lives better? And whether you are born into privilege, whether you're born with advantage or not, that should still be, if not the forefront, but part of your thought process as you proceed through life.
Also, I knew, and I couldn't figure out why. I knew it was signed. I knew I had it signed. I just couldn't figure out where in the moment. Yes. Bashir is a wonderful examination of that. Garak is amazing. I love Garak. I love Odo. Odo is my little goopy edgelord.
Odo is one of the finest NBs in history.
Odo is definitely a flesh wrap.
Fuck.
I won.
I was gonna do this whole thing about how Klingons are like inclusive and
They are.
accept.
Yep.
But instead, Odo is a flesh wrap.
Uh-huh. And let's be honest, so much drama on Deep Space Nine could have been avoided if Odo and Quark could have just figured out how to bang it out.
Yeah, Odo is. Wait, did Odo bang anybody? Nah.
There was that one like ambassador chick who was like over the top, and I didn't like it. It didn't feel good at all. It didn't feel good at all.
Data spent more time between the sheets than Odo did.
Yeah.
And Odo could have been the sheets.
You know, my fondness for Para suddenly makes a whole lot more sense. No, I don't think there was this ambassador woman, Odo. And she was like, be yourself. And she was it Favor the Bold? Odo has sex with a female changeling in solid form. She claims to know. Okay, so he banged another. He banged another changeling. Data is a love matching. Look, Data and Geordi.
But you see, here's the thing. Like, and this is why Tasha Yar is a gangster. Because she took an anatomically correct android with all the plugins to do everything a human does and left this man withered, dehydrated, and shaken when she left her quarters. She walked out of there and Data was just like, whew, what? Full on RoboCop. Like what am I doing here?
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to dig deeper. But David? There's a Deep Space Nine comic.
Yeah,
Have you?
which I have not read.
The apparently the founders returned to talk to Cisco again. That's the start of the comic.
Yikes.
Yeah, Worf deferred to her. There was a that was the great moment in Deep Space Nine was I forget. You know, what was the great Klingon acceptance? Losing my darn mind.
Oh
tonight.
yeah. When Dax.
Yes, Dax. Original name, my old friend. It's Dax now. Dax, my old
he's
friend.
like Curzon Dax, my old friend.
Thank you.
And it's Jadzia now, and he's like Jadzia, my old friend, and like no pronoun hiccups,
No problems. Yeah,
like,
I heard
no
that the
dead
lower decks
naming.
episode was great. Yeah, Klingons are like, my bad, we're moving on. We're best friends. You understand, and I will respect you enough to not do it again. We cool? But okay. We have been going for a while now. So I stopped trying to get away from Deep Space Nine. However, David and I are working on, here's the thing. We want to run more games, obviously. Both of us know 5e pretty well, but we had already been like, maybe this big project we're working on, what if we do it in Pathfinder because 3-action economy is just awesome. You just watched that episode today! I'm really gay for the 3-action economy. Like, I love it. So we're going down this rabbit hole of learning Pathfinder, learning the lore, the gods, so that we can decide when we build this thing that we're building, are we using their gods and their lore? Are we making it up? Yep, 2nd edition. Are we making it all up as we go? So we're going to be sharing some of that journey with you all here. So if you have questions about 5e, if you are a 5e expert, or a 5e, if you are a Pathfinder 2e expert and would like to come on and talk, if you are, I don't know, if you're Jeff and you're like, I know a heck of a lot about Starfinder and I can tell you the difference between Starfinder and Pathfinder. Do you want to invite me on and have me talk about it? Yes, we do. If you would like to come on and share expertise, if Candace wants to come on and talk about why they love Powered by the Apocalypse, please, come on. Let us know. We want to talk about other systems. We want to learn all we can about Pathfinder. We're going to be sharing a little bit of our journey of learning the 2E system. And, if there's other topics we haven't, if there are other systems you want to have, Savage Worlds. Yes, Candace needs to come on and talk to me about Savage Worlds because I have yet to play Savage Worlds. Please reach out to us. We would love to have you on. We'd love to make all of this. We'd love to make it happen. I can verb, but not well. Next week will be the 31st, and we will be on. However, the following Tuesday the 7th, we will not be because I am watching Eddie Izzard. And no one can stop me.
And everyone gets to sit and think about what we have planned for Valentine's Day.
I should absolutely ask Connie, and I hope they will come on. But I do not know. Tea at Cake or Death? Yes, she is going to be incredible. She's doing Dickens, and I can't wait. David, who are you, and what the heck are we doing here, other than talking about Star Trek?
Hi, I am learning about Pathfinder 2e. I'm David. Welcome to the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show, where every week we talk about Doombas and flesh wraps and how to be a better player and how to be a better GM, all with a focus on intersectionality and interconnectivity so that we all can have a good time.
And I'm Kay. I'm the other person on screen who talks a lot, if you hadn't noticed.
Inclusiveness and and intersectionality. Ooh wee, one day I will land the plane. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
It's cool. Usually I've got a metric ton of stuff to plug, but it's a little bit of a slow start to the year. So Dave and I are here doing this almost every Tuesday. We've had to call out a couple already this year, and like I said, the 7th we won't be here because I'm going to be doing other stuff. However, usually we're here talking about this. I often stream on Tuesdays as well. Or I'm sorry, on Thursdays as well. God, what are days of the week? I don't. You can usually find me every other Wednesday on the Emergency Power Podcast with Jeff, who's hanging out in chat. Right now, they're doing the Skittermander Saga, which is a great, if you're curious about Starfinder, it is a great intro module. But you can also use this time to catch up on Season 3 of Emergency Power if you haven't gotten there.
Not just can, you should.
Should. Yes, David.
Yes. You should absolutely. Much like my complaint about people not being on the Discord enough, you should also catch up on the magical stuff that Jeff and Kay and the crew are all doing on the Emergency Power Podcast. And by people, I mean me.
And Jeff is GMing the Skittermander Saga, and as they just said in chat, the cool thing about the Skittermander Saga is if you listen to the podcast and you're like, ooh, that sounds like a fun module, I would like to run it. It is a free module that Paizo put out for free TTRPG days, so you could just go to their website and download the module. And I actually... This would have been really dramatic if I don't know where it is. Imagine that this is book 4, the cover for book 4 of the Skittermander Saga. Because I have a physical copy of it, except it's not in my... But I got Power Ranger, I got everything except the one I needed. So check that out, please. Yes, you are absolutely going to steal David for a power pack.
What's a power pack?
Power pack are little side things like the Skittermander Saga.
Yes,
and
it will happen.
Also, if you are interested in playing Pathfinder 2E in a campaign, you should keep an eye out on the Emergency Power Podcast Twitter, because there might just be a casting call coming up soonish. Just saying. Just saying. Yes, I'm alternating between streaming Pokemon and Stardew Valley because I've fallen down that black hole. And thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for helping me give David crap and for talking Star Trek. I really had a blast. It was so much fun. It was a kind of a rough day for me, so it was really, really nice to just hang out and talk to all of y'all. And I found an excuse to put on cat ears, so, you know, that never hurts. David, say a thing while I try to figure out who we're going to raid.
A thing. No, Xanderific is playing Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Who else is doing stuff? Also, you were spared my Superman rant. Thank your lucky stars. Because I also had one of those cooking.
Alrighty. Well, we are going to wrap up tonight and go visit Xander and watch some Legend of Zelda. Thank you all again. This was a wonderful time. And we will see you next week. What the heck? We might be off. I can't tell what just happened. I think we might have gone. I don't know. I'm going to flip over to the ending screen in the off chance that we're still here. I'm not sure what happened. Thank you all.